Good evening, everyone. Welcome to your Rangers Review post-match reaction video live from Hampden after a pretty heartbreaking end to Rangers' League Cup campaign, losing on penalties to Celtic after a pulsating 3-3 draw, and yet Celtic winning by 5-4 on spot kicks. Ridvan, the player who saw his efforts saved by Kasper Schmeichel, and Celtic triumph and lift the trophy. But I think it's a hard one to stomach, of course. I think Rangers showed guts today. I think they showed character, desire and fight, and they were dead on their feet, especially in extra time when they really were ran ragged and they were just hoping, I think, for penalties. Chris, it's hard to dissect the game. So much was going on, but Rangers, of course, opening scoring in the first half, just a few minutes before the break. Nadim Bayrami latching onto a misplaced pass from Celtic, running forward. Hamza Igaman's shot saved, parried by Schmeichel. Bayrami tapped into an empty net. Celtic scored, courtesy of Greg Taylor. Huge deflection off Robin Propper, almost just 10 minutes after the restart, and Celtic scored a second goal shortly after. A bit of a mistake from Rangers. Nico Raskin didn't cover himself in glory at that point. That being said, I thought he had a magnificent game again for Rangers in the heart of the midfield. Daizan Maeda latching onto that mistake to dispatching past Jack Butland. Mohamed Diamandi equalised with a close range finish as Rangers fought back, and we thought game on here, but Celtic again retook the league. Nicholas Kuhn scoring just 3 minutes before the end, and I thought that would have just taken the wind out of Rangers' sails, but up stepped Danilo and Rangers replied almost instantly. You should have seen his dad, folks. He was situated just beside us in the press box, and I thought he was going to jump on the park. He was proud as punch, and he was kicking every ball in the stand. Rangers made it to extra time, and it was pretty much a containment job. They offered not much in an attacking sense. I think Thursday night certainly took it out the players, and there's only so far that adrenaline can take you. They took it to penalties, and listen, there's always going to be a fall guy, and unfortunately it was Ridvan. It surprised everyone in the stadium, me and you both, I think, Chris, when Jack Butland stepped up and took a penalty. It was a fantastic spot kick, I've got to say. Well played by Big Jack, but yeah, Ridvan's penalty saved by Kasper Schmeichel. Daizan Maeda converting to win the cup for Celtic. What did you make of that?
It's quite the afternoon. A terrific advert for Scottish football, but was a heartbreaking end for Rangers. As you outlined there, Derek, they put so much into it. Showed a lot of quality in times, showed a lot of character in times. There will be moments that the manager mentioned in his press conference, the 4-1 that they had in the second half. You're looking at moments like that. Rangers just need a bit more cutting edge, a bit more quality about them. Those things can make a big difference. Another big theme from the press conference is obviously the manager talking about the decision not to award Rangers a penalty. Liam Scales on Cherney, the tug of the shot right on the edge of the box. I know Bobby Madden has commented on it on social media.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of social media chat about it afterwards. The manager not happy with it, saying that his phone has got hundreds of messages on it. People obviously flagging that up, saying, "No, you should have had a penalty. You've been really hard done by." Having seen the still again, having seen it back, you have to understand why Clement is as upset.
Yep.
It looks all the world to be a penalty. Why that wasn't at least referred for the referee to then go over and have a look at it. I think next time Willie Collum speaks on SFA TV to go through these decisions, that's the one that people are going to be looking out for. If it comes back and there's a line in the spreadsheet that says that decision was wrong, nobody's going to be surprised. Ultimately, that doesn't help Rangers. And you look at how the game ebbed and flowed. If they get that chance in extra time, there's very, very few chances. Both teams had put a lot. As you touched on, the Rangers coming off the back of such a huge effort against Spurs, it was obvious that they were going to tire. Extra time was a bit of a slog, but that could have been a potentially game-changing, match-winning moment for Rangers. They were denied that opportunity, and so you can certainly understand why Rangers fans are upset about it, and certainly understand why Clement was as upset about it as well.
it's a crucial stage of the game, of course, just shortly into extra time. This is what the manager had to say, folks, when he was pressed. Well, he didn't have to be pressed on it. He spoke about it in his first answer. This is what Clement had to say about that penalty incident.
The image is back, but my phone is overloaded with the penalty situation with Czerny. So I get hundreds of messages now about that. So that's also a really decisive moment in the game.
Have you spoken to the referee about that?
Yes, of course he cannot see that moment, but he didn't get the communication from the VR to come to watch the screen. What's for me a really weird situation, that at least there's no look about that kind of situation in this kind of game, about the situation that the referee can make a decision in that way.
So the Clement calling it a weird situation. I was sat next to Stevie, folks, and he's a former referee. He was adamant that he would have looked at a VAR and seen if it was on the line, it would have been a penalty kick. I have no idea why they never had a proper look at it. Trying to take the game seriously, but in a showpiece final here, Chris. Why on earth are we not? What's going on in the VAR room and they're not looking at this? Why? What's going on here?
It'll be interesting to see how far Rangers will decide to take it, if they choose to take it any further. You'd like to think there'd be a phone call going into Hampden just above us in the corridors of power here over the next couple of days to seek a bit more of an explanation on it. I see why the referee wasn't at least sent to the.
Doesn't make sense.
Why he's at least not sent to the screen to have a look at it? And you'd think if he does, he sees where the foul takes place. He sees what the foul is, and it's fairly obvious that Rangers, then, as I said, should have had a penalty at that stage. So it's definitely something I think the club will take further. We'll find out in the next couple of days. I see what those lines of communication are, what answers, if any, they've had back. But no, certainly something the manager was really unhappy about, and it's not being used as an excuse. He's not using it to think he take the blame away. Rangers, they had their own issues. As I touched on earlier on, they had their own missed chances, had their own moments where they could have should have done better. But you look at a moment like that in a game like this, as you say, showpiece final, eyes of the world on it.
Amateur.
It has to be. Yeah. It has to be better.
Yeah, we're looking at the stills right now. It's an absolute shocker from the officials. Bobby Madden, like you say, is put in his penny's worth on Instagram. He says this is 100% a penalty kick. It doesn't matter when the holding started, when it ended, or what direction the players are moving. This is clear evidence of holding within the penalty area, and I'm amazed this hadn't been identified by VAR. Referee team had been excellent until that point. Difficult live, but that's why VAR is there. Absolutely no point having the technology if it's not going to be used properly. Questions have to be asked of the competency of the guys in charge of this poor call. Like you said, there was an incident prior to that when Rangers had a chance at 1-0 in the second half. Chris, there's a comment here from Rangers on Tour official on our Instagram Live. It says a chance to kill the game at 1-0. All he had to do was pass the ball along the goal line. This was the opportunity, of course. Rangers broke Hamza Igeman, Václav Černý, Bayrami was up there as well. There was someone else, Diamande perhaps it was up there in support, or Hadji, I think it was. I think Igeman picked it the wrong option. He went right as opposed to left, where I think Rangers would have been in on a one-on-one on goal. Clement touched on that. It was poor decision making at the times. It just sort of cost Rangers when they were in decent opportunities, just taking that wrong option.
The manager said it was a massive situation. He said that's a really disappointing one, that we made the wrong choice there, because on the left side we had two players free. If Hamza slows down his tempo and then gives the ball, it's impossible to defend. And you look at moments like that, that's just a difference where Rangers are at right now. They're just not good enough in those moments. They did really well to get the opening goal. You touched on it with Bayrami earlier on. Diamande presses Taylor well. Taylor makes the mistake. Bayrami breaks well into Igeman. A good shot saved, and Bayrami follows it up and moves in the right direction to be there in the off chance that Schmeichel puts it in that direction. He does. He gets his goal. That was Rangers capitalising on a mistake. You then have that situation in the second half. Again, you capitalise, you break. they didn't capitalise fully on that one. Got themselves in a really good position, but then couldn't finish it off. And if that had gone in, I think it's a long way back for Celtic at that stage. So that's the outside the penalty and outside the emotion of it all. I think when the manager sits down with the players next couple of days, that's when he speaks a lot about and going through the video, work with them when they sit in that in that analysis suite at the training ground over the next couple of days. That's the first one that he's going to flag up. Surely that's a big moment, and you would hope that Rangers learn from it, because ultimately that could have been game setting match in this final.
Yeah, as James says, it would have been defining. I think I could have seen Rangers going on and winning that final if that occurred. But I've got to say, to be pegged back, to lose those 2 goals, they did show desire and guts and real character to get back in the game and equalise on 2 occasions late on. So for me, that tells me the players are playing for the manager. Spot kicks, he said, is like a trip to the casino, and I totally get that. Is a bit of a lottery. Just on the penalties, Steve-O with a point says the outcome of this match does not fall in Yilmaz. Hope he keeps his head up. He's been a great option since recovering from injury. Yep, there's always got to be a fall guy, of course, and full credit to the players that stepped up. And most of the penalties were dispatched with aplomb. Even Jack Butland's as well. I was a bit concerned when he took the ball, but he fired it into the corner. I was surprised, as many, I'm sure, that Cyril Dessers didn't step up and take a penalty. You can't do that, says guys. For me, it speaks volumes when your goalie takes a pen and your number 9 doesn't. If he can't be trusted, he shouldn't be in the team. I get it's a confidence thing with penalties. Some guys might not feel confident about taking one, but centre forward should be wanting to take a penalty. They should be getting that ball and saying, I want to be a hero here. That was a strange one for me, why Dessers wasn't one of those that stepped up.
I've seen this point raised quite a lot on social media over the last hour or so since the game finished, and Dessers been missing in action, if you like.
Yeah.
At shootout, I don't think you can blame Yilmaz too much.
No.
The manager was asked about having to pick him up, and he also said that he would do. To step forward and put yourself there takes a lot of bottle. Fair play to Radvan for doing it. It wasn't the best penalty. It was a fairly comfortable save for Schmeichel in the end, unfortunately. But at least he was there, and at least he put himself forward. Like we saw after Celtic's penalty, he looked to see who was walking up, and no one was walking up, and it became evident. No, Jack Butland's going to be the guy that's taking the next one. And your first thought is there's attack-minded players on the pitch. Kieran Dell had also come on. Conor Barron had come on. You're looking at your midfielders. You're certainly looking at the guy that's got number 9 on his jersey.
Exactly.
And I think that will be a big talking point out of this. The fact that Dessers didn't step forward and take one. Now you could say, well, he was 6th on the list. He was first. If it got to sudden death, doesn't matter. You have to get there in the first place. You cannot save penalty takers. And you look at someone like James Tavernier, for example, gets a lot of stick, a lot of questions about character, mentality, and bottle, and all the rest of it. Stepped up, first penalty, scored it. If he'd missed that one, it puts Rangers in such a huge disadvantage. So you have to give him credit for doing that. Fair play to the rest of the boys for stepping up at that time. The manager said that they'd been practicing over the course of the season, and Butland had been doing that really well. He said he wouldn't do it in a normal game, obviously, because you end up getting a counter-attack and you lose a goal. But he said we looked really best in this series, and we have a few others who did really well. So that's why kind of justifying the selection. But I think Dessers not stepping up, it will spark an awful lot of debate and raise quite a lot of questions.
Yep. This is a point from Michelle. It sort of sums up how I feel about it as well. She says, I thought we made them really work for the win. The team played their all. Brilliant effort, but we lost. I'm proud of my team. Yeah. I can't fault Rangers today. It's hard. It's difficult. That's what makes it more hard to take in terms of the defeat, losing in that manner, because Rangers, for me, deserve to win that game. But it's old hard luck story once again, and Lady Luck certainly seems to be on Celtic's side at this point in time. Now, we'll dissect the game in more detail tomorrow. Stevie will be on with me, folks. But I've seen, not just today, Chris, but recent matches, ever since that draw with Dundee United, there is shoots of recovery here. This team, there is players in there that can take Rangers forward, I feel. What's your view on that?
The last couple of weeks certainly been a lot more encouraging. The last couple of weeks certainly been a lot better. But ultimately, you're judged on winning trophies as Rangers manager. It's another one that Clement has has not won on the back of getting himself into a good position to win the title, and then not getting himself into a position to win the Scottish Cup, and then not. We know that the league title has all but gone already. So we spoke a lot about this one and the build up in terms of the importance for the manager. I think he will take a bit of confidence from it. He'll obviously be hurting. The players will be hurting after this one. It's now all about the recovery. How do they go into this next run of games? Also got a week until they're back at Ibrox, then into this Christmas period. Number of important games in that run. Next Old Firm game comes around fairly quickly, and I think that will the build up to that again will focus a lot on the manager and on his record. He needs a result against Celtic. He needs to find a way to find a way to be able to beat them. Because yes, they were in the Scottish Cup final. They were in this one. Obviously, had a real chance to win this one. They've not, and ultimately his record against Celtic is not good enough, and that's something that has to change. So there will be a lot of focus on Clement heading into that January game. But before then, Rangers just have to pick themselves up. They cannot allow this to. They cannot allow this to linger. They have to find a way to recover from it, and really can go on and kick on from what has been a more encouraging run of form of late. As I say, Kelly was obviously good. Ross County was 3 points and back down the road.
Yeah.
Spurs, a lot of encouraging signs. We all enjoyed being at Ibrox on Thursday night. That was encouraging. There are reasons to be encouraged from this one, but ultimately they did not get over the line. And I say Rangers are judged on winning silverware, not just winning the odd game here and there. So still a lot of work for me to be done. But I think the fans will be slightly more encouraged and hopeful than they were 6 weeks or so ago. But I say it's like you are judged on what you win as a Rangers manager, as a Rangers player.
Yeah, a real sickener here today, folks. We'll wrap up there. As we touched on earlier on, we will speak more about the game tomorrow morning when I'm on with Stevie at 9:30. We hope you can join us for that. Incidentally, those press conferences, Philip Clement, you can go and watch what he had to say over on the YouTube channel. Joshua went down in the mix zone and spoke to James Tavernier as well, so you can hear what he had to say on the match also. But we'll wrap up there for now. Big thank you to you all for joining us on this post-match show. Big thanks to Chris as ever, and we'll speak to you a little later on. Bye for now.